So we will go to item 11 under the action agenda. Action is necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. Do I have any motions? Mr. Lovelace. We need to vote on.
I move that we approve the items for action under Exhibit A for employment items.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of that item, raise your hand. That's 7, and those opposed, 0. Our next is approval to pay Amex Ferry Water Sewer Tap closeout fees for
Madam
Piney
Chairman,
Woods.
I'm going to have to recuse
Oh, that's right. You
myself
have to recuse
for this because I'm recused from
That's
all
right.
matters.
I remember that. Ms. Huddle has a. You want me to let you leave the room? As long as you're not voting, we don't mind you staying in here. Ms. Huddle.
I move that we pay the remaining balance of approximately $88,350 in sewer and water tap fees due to the town of Chapin in order to get final approval for water and sewer for Piney Woods Elementary.
Is there a second? I have a second from Ms. Hines. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is 6 with a recusal from Mr. Lovelace. So that passes. And there was no other items that we need to deal with. So we will go to number 12, second reading approval, proposed revisions to policy JQ, student fees, fines, and charges. Exhibit E. Dr. Milton, do you want to lead that?
Ms. Hammond, this is actually for action. If there's any questions from the board, Ms. Rawls and I can certainly prepare to answer, but we think we've captured the revisions that the board has suggested.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for that? Ms. Hines?
I move that we approve the proposed revision to board policy JQ, student fees, fines, and charges.
Is there a second? Mr. Hogan seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is 7 and no opposed. Number 13, first reading of the FY 2022 General Fund Budget, Exhibit F. And I guess Ms. Rawls will be back at the podium.
All right, Chair Hammond, Dr. Melton, members of the board. My purpose tonight is to provide you the information that you need to make your best decision regarding the general fund budget for next school year. This presentation was a collaboration. It's not all my work. It is the work of the administration. Am I on? Maybe, can you hear me better now? Okay. This is a collaboration. This is not all my efforts. This is meeting with executive staff, meeting with the superintendent. I met with every school administration. And to me, I translate their words and I put them into dollars. So this represents a focus on students and staff and meeting the needs of those two groups for our district. You've seen this slide before. I hoped that I would have one plan when I came here tonight, but the state of South Carolina has 2 plans still. We still have a House and Senate plan that are very different. House Ways and Means Committee will be going back and doing some work on their version of the budget after the updated revenues. This is a very similar slide. You've seen this before. Couple things to note. Enrollment did increase for the 135th day, and I continue to think it will increase for the 45th day next school year. I've had a lot of questions about National Board Supplement. This is something that when you approve the budget will be part of it, continuing the local supplement. I can tell you that there are some districts in our area that have not continued the local supplement. It is still a pending legislation about whether the state supplement will continue after the 2 cycles. But if you all approve this budget, it would include National Board Supplement for all nationally board certified teachers, regardless of which cycle they are in. Salary schedule revisions. This has been a hot-button topic lately. This budget includes separating the 24th, 25th, and 26th steps on the teacher salary schedule, and it also includes adding a year 20 for the support salary schedule and the administrative salary schedule. So instead of 19 plus, it will look as 20 plus for next school year. Those were priorities that we heard from many employees that had a concern about their being dedicated to our district, and they felt that they were not being appreciated because the scale stopped short of where their years of experience were. You've seen this slide before. It projects the revenues at $201,694,166. This shows about a little over 36.5% local funding and just over 63% of state funding. This shows that our district supports education. It is a priority here. Our taxpayers support the district and the education efforts, so they're supporting our students and staff. The expenditures. We've seen this slide before as well. On this slide, you'll see that the salaries and fringe are a little over 88%, while everything else is a little over 11.5%. You have seen this presentation, so you obviously know that I want to revisit this in the fall. I think we're going to get towards that 87-13. That's my goal for before this budget year of 21-22 ends. I would like to see us be closer, working towards that 85-15 number. But if we can get to 87-13, I think that will be a good place for us to land. So the revenues items included in this budget. Item of note on this slide, I am not recommending an increase in operating millage. Our cap for this year is 4.86 mills. With the population growth and the consumer price index, I am not recommending an increase. Our assessed value in our district has increased about 4.5%. Our Tier 1, 2, and 3 homestead exemptions have increased almost $400,000. This budget is calculated using a $2,508 base student in cost. With the increase in the revenue estimates, I think we're going to get closer to that $2,516 that the Senate has in their budget, because I think the House is going to come up. I think that we're going to have a good negotiating place with that, but I also think enrollment's going to go up. I really think that by the 45th day of next school year, you will see an increase in enrollment for District 5. So here are the expenditure items that are included in this budget. There is a funded step increase for teachers. This budget includes a funded step increase for all eligible staff. That eligible word is a big word. It's all eligible staff. Teachers will be funded by the state. For the state portion of it, we will fund the increase on the local portion. So you see the numbers up there of what it will cost. So 1% retirement increase for next year. Social workers. There has become a huge need for social workers. And when we did a salary study, Dr. Harris did an extensive study on that. Our social workers have master's degrees, and we're paying them less than a bachelor's degree teacher. This moves the social workers onto a salary class similar to that of a master's degree teacher. This makes us competitive. This helps us get the social workers that we need, and this is happening in other districts in our area as well. We will be online to be competitive in our area. There are additional certified, classified support and administrative staffs included. I would like to give you the final numbers on the next reading because we are still in the process of teasing out exactly what is needed for next school year. There's still some transfers going on, moving around. We're still ironing all that part of it out. The increase for social workers, I can tell you with adding a couple of social workers and an increase, it's going to cost us about $180,000 plus fringe associated with that. I think that's, in my opinion, that's a minimal amount of money for what we're going to get from this. There may be some social workers that we fund with some of the ESSER funding in the mental health category so that we can eventually, once the ESSER ends, we will pick them up in the general fund budget, but it may be that we can use some of that funding to get over the next couple of years instead of picking all of them up in general fund at one time. Like I said, we would be continuing the $5,000 local supplement for national board teachers. That is included in the expenditures that are listed. We talked about separating the 24th, 25th, and 26th step on the teacher salary schedule. Our schedule currently goes through year 27. May look at adding year 28 next year. It's, for a lot of these teachers, 28 years is retirement with the South Carolina retirement system. It would be a shame not to get a step increase in your last year if you were working your 28 before retirement. So that's a future plan of mine. Adding year 20 plus on the support and administrative staff salary schedules. I can tell you that separating years 24 to 26 increases $131,400, and that impacts 69 staff members. 131,069 staff members. Adding year 20 to the support and administrative staff schedules will cost us $326,000. That impacts 464 individuals. Only 12 are administrative. The rest are support. We will have some increases in our SRO security for contracts for next year with Lexington and Richland counties. I had a question about contractual services and what made all that up. They are two of the top 10, and I'm working on getting you a list of that for the whole board. I can tell you on some preliminary investigating on that, our substitute staffing obviously is a major contractual service agreement that we have. There are repairs and maintenance. Our groundskeeping would be one of the top 10. HVAC needs. Our insurance is one of the top 10. Community mental health service contracts with Lexington County is one of the top 10. Technology agreements is another one of the larger ones. So I'm working on a comprehensive list, but that gives you an outline of what all is included. Don't forget also travel is part of contractual services. Even though it's contractual services, maybe purchased services is a better term to call it because they're not all contracts. This year we haven't had a lot of travel, haven't had a lot of professional development. I think that's going to probably pick up again next year. I don't know that we'll be back to 1920 levels, but I think it will increase next year. We had to add in Piney Woods for maintenance and utilities. You don't start a school without having to pay for utilities. So that will be part of this budget. And we're looking to increase our maintenance employees from 7.5 hours a day to 8 hours a day. That sounds like minimal, but if you're not mobilizing and you're getting 30 minutes more of additional productive work, that it makes a difference on what you can get done. And when we were looking at the numbers today, that is basically the time of adding another FTE. When you add all that time up over a year, we're adding another FTE to the fleet. So I think that's important for that staff. I am proud to stand here and tell you that this budget is balanced. This is where we are living within our means. We're not increasing millage at this time. Our revenues equal, our projected revenues equal our projected expenditures. Now I want to talk to you about a mid-year review. This has been a tricky year in more ways than one. I did listen to the Board of Economic Advisors meeting on May 20th. Frank Rainwater is a good friend of our families. He did not recommend an increase in revenue estimates. The estimates that he showed on his graphs were all higher than what, the actuals are higher than the estimates, but he said it's still too soon. May 17th was tax day. They don't have all of the tax return data in their system yet. So he is holding his revenue estimate, making changes to his estimates until later in the summer, early fall. He made the comment that the General Assembly will come back in September to review federal funds. They may be able to do and look at what's left over, what's extra from this calendar and this fiscal year, and what do the estimates show? I think that means that we may see some additional revenue this fall. They will have more revenue than they anticipate based on the actuals that we're seeing to date. So you see the General Assembly schedule there. It's a very good possibility we will not have a final budget until June 29th. In saying that, the budget that I've provided you gets us started. It helps us start this school year. It provides for the needs. The supply budgets for the schools are loaded at a little bit less than what their allocation should be. It gets us started. If we can get to November, this budget more than will get us to November. We get to November, we're looking at factual data then. We're not looking at estimates anymore. We know what the budget is. We know what the revenues are. We're past the 45th day. We know what enrollment is. We're looking at facts. If we can get to November, December timeframe, and let's review where are our revenue estimates our revenue projections going to be at that time, and where do the expenditures need to be? Once we have that bit of information, I'll be able to present to you, this is where we started, and I'm asking for this amendment based on revenue I know we will receive. And I think that puts us in an excellent spot. That's basically what the General Assembly has done. They don't know what their revenues are going to be. They've pushed it off. And if we can do similar to what they have done, I think that it provides opportunities for us to really look at some more factual data. We don't know what the employer health insurance costs increases are going to be, anywhere from 0.6% to 2.6%. You know, I don't know. I can't estimate that. We don't know what fund balance will be. Mr. Lovelace asked about that tonight. By November, December, we will know what fund balance will be. We can do informed decision-making based on what we know is fact at that time. We're still hiring positions. We don't know if a $50,000 employee leaves and they're replaced with a $70,000 employee, or vice versa. We're still in a flux on that. We talked about the 45th day, what enrollment will be. I think we're going to see an increase in enrollment. I think basically in the elementary grades. I think we're going to see a lot of kindergartners this coming year. Our local revenues are still being revised based on the assessed value increases. We may know more factual data about that at that time as well. I showed you, we talked about we were not increasing millage, but I do want to provide to you the calculation. You can see that we were, based on our legislative cap, allowed 4.86 mills in the current year, and that would total $1,351,911 additional revenue. That would cost the taxpayer of an owner of investment or commercial real property about $29.16 per $100,000 of value if we increased it to 4.86 mills. This is the calendar. It really hasn't changed, but I did want to point out we are at late June for a final budget being passed and signed by the governor. And this is our recommendation. We would recommend, as the administration, that you approve this first reading of the budget as it has been presented. I am happy to answer any questions, but I want to tell you, this is what I know today. Budgets are living documents. It's not what it is. It's not all about today. It's about what the needs are in September, what the needs are in December, what the needs are next spring. It's a living document. There will be changes. There will be transfers. There will be amendments. If we can get this year started with this budget, I will bring back to you an amendment November, December timeframe based on what we know and what we're provided from the General Assembly. Again, this is our recommendation that you would approve this reading.
Ms. Hammond, before we start taking questions, Ms. Rawls alluded to it earlier, but I'd like to pause. This has been a very inclusive, collaborative budget. So I'd like to pause to thank the executive staff. Our principals have been involved with this, our faculty advisory, our parent advisory. we are asking questions aligned with the priorities that the board approved of mine, of my 5 priorities, of what we need to keep, what we need to improve, and what needs to be changed. And this budget this evening is presented by Ms. Rawls, but is inclusive and collaborative of all, with our vision in mind. And Ms. Rawls, there's one thing that you said that Mr. Giuliano may have had a flinch to, when you said we haven't had a lot of professional development this year.
Outside of the district.
We have not had a lot
Excuse
of
me.
travel.
We have not traveled.
We have not traveled
Yes,
for
ma'am.
professional development this year, but there has
Correct.
been extensive professional development. So all of our teachers who are listening in or may be here tonight, that we meant traveling outside of District
ma'am.
5 for their professional development.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Hammond will be prepared for any questions that the board will have.
Thank you, Dr. Melton. Ms. Rawls, I would echo what she just said. This is, I know this is a moving target, and y'all have done a fantastic job. It's awesome, and it's very well laid out, very easily understood, and I just want you to know how much we as a board appreciate this hard work. We truly do, and we're going to ask questions. Before we do, though, I just have to say, as a teacher, I'm so excited about the realization of the need of social workers to be paid. Even before the pandemic, the mental health, and I think all board members sitting here, I know that I've served with, have had a real passion for mental health. And Dr. Melton, you have led that way too, and I thank you. But social workers can get into the homes and get into in depth that a teacher cannot do in the day with all the other things they're doing. So I'm so excited to see that, because it's going to help overall all our kids and families. So I was excited to see that. But it's just, I like how you've laid it out personally so very much. Me, that is the social studies teacher, I can understand this. It's good. So let's take questions from everybody. But I do want to thank you from the board. We appreciate the work. Questions? Well, that's right. Well, motion. Come on, Ms. Hammond. Gotten so excited about those social workers. I'm telling you, we need them. Do I have a motion? First reading. Ms. Gardner.
I move that we follow the recommendation of the administration to approve the first reading of the fiscal year 2021-22 general fund budget as presented.
Is there a second? Ms. Hines seconds. Now, discussion. Who has a question? Mr. Lovelace.
Dr. Milton, can I ask Ms. Rawls?
Whichever
one of
question
you.
you ask, I may answer it or she may answer, Ms.
Well,
Davis,
anyway,
but absolutely.
First of all, I want to thank you for, including those step increases for the years 24 through 26, and I hope we're able to do the one for year 28 also. Second, I don't want to piggyback on what the chair lady said, Chair Lady Hammond, that the mental health aspect. And I know we've been talking about this since I've been on this board, and I really appreciate what you've included, and also especially in this year where we really need it, and I think we need it more than ever. But I would ask you if you do come across additional revenues when the General Assembly looks at their budgets and all. There's 2 areas that I have mentioned that I think are very important to our students, and the first is mental health, and I think if we could zero into the superintendent's goals on getting the number of mental health workers per school, that would help. And the second item was, I've mentioned it before, but somehow we have to find money to pay teachers that are teaching occupations in the medical field, computer coding, things like that, because those folks are in high demand in industry and business, and we're not doing, if we don't find teachers that can teach that to students so that they could get out of high school making, a salary, a decent salary, I think we're not fulfilling what we need to. And I know that's not your problem, but what I am saying is that if we could find the additional revenues to somehow get those teachers that otherwise are going to drift toward industry, we could really do some good there. And those are the 2 things that I see. Thank you.
Ms. Huddle.
I had a question. There's the supplement schedule for special duties starts at grade 6. And I was just curious if I'm correct in that there is no supplements for grade 5 and below. Is that right?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Are there special duties that ought to be considered again if we do end up with some extra funding for the elementary aged, the elementary teachers?
We certainly could create some. There has been expressed need, and Mr. Lovis, with your feedback earlier regarding social workers and Ms. Hammond as well, I'd like to give a shout out to Michelle Eichelberger, our Support Employee of the Year this year. She and Dr. Harris have been advocates for that social worker adjustment, and their research, along with Dr. Turner, led us to the discovery that we brought forth to you all this evening. Ms. Huddle, to answer your question, there are grade level chairs, there are committee chairs, there are a variety of responsibilities that our elementary span teachers take on. So if there were additional funds, we could certainly look towards how we could use those to show that appreciation for extra duties that our teachers are doing, and they do not get additional planning period for doing that. Some of our secondary situations, they have a different allocation of planning time because of the number of students that they teach. But elementary does not get additional planning. Many of their things are during their planning periods or after school or before school. So we've noted that one. Thank you, Ms. Huddle.
Any other questions? Anybody? Well, it looks good.
I do want to echo what Dr. Melton said. I get to be the spokesperson. This is not, these are not all my ideas. I get to be standing up here and providing it to you, but the staff that I get to work with every day are the ones that are the champions. And so I do want to echo what she said. It's a collaboration. This is not all about finance. This is about the students and staff of this district and what we can do to provide them the very best that we can every day.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's it. You did a great job. I'm about to, no, we hadn't voted, but there's no, I'm going to be sure I'm finding my place so I see the thing. So we have had a discussion, a first and a second, so we will vote to approve. All those in favor of approving the agenda, the budget, the first reading of the 2022 budget. 7 and no. No no's. We like it. So 14, request to continue suspension of board policy JFABB and administrative rule JFABB-R, admission of foreign exchange students, seen in Exhibit G.
Ms. Hammond, this is for action. Dr. Harris has prepared to explain. This is a recommendation to continue what we waived, sought the permission of the board last year to waive. So where we are with COVID, if you'd like to have a presentation, Dr. Harris can talk us through it. Otherwise, we're prepared for action.
Yep, we're good. Make a motion. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hines.
I make the motion that we approve the administration's recommendation that to continue the suspension of policy and administrative rule JFABB and ARJFABB-R, admission of foreign exchange students for the 2021-2022 school year.
And is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Now, any discussion? I think we're good with that. Thank you, Dr. Harris. I know you were ready to answer any questions, but we're good. So we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor? 7 and no opposed. So that passes. 15, renewal of Irmo Chapin Recreation Commission land lease agreement, seen in Exhibit H. And Mr. Beatonball, you're going to lead us through that.
Consistent with the other items, Ms. Hammond, as Mr. Beambo was prepared, if you'd like a presentation, the board, of course, has had the opportunity to review. We're prepared for action, or if you'd like for presentation, we can do that as well.
I think we're good. I would just like to say I know for a fact it's been a great relationship with the Irmo Rec Center and the schools for many years, and I think it's a valuable working relationship for all our students and for even adults. So if there's any questions, we'll take a vote, we'll take a motion and then a second, and if there is any discussion.
I just had a question. I'm assuming that it's basically the same contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's been going on how many years? is it,
It is the longest
Yeah.
agreement in the entire state between a district and a recreation commission. This is
Thank
the
you.
longest-running agreement.
Elizabeth Taylor would like to hear that. She did a lot to get that going. So do I have a motion that we will, to renew that? Ms. Hines?
I make the motion that we renew the Irmo Chapin Recreation Commission land lease agreement for a term of 5 years.
I have a second. Ms. Huddle seconds. And any questions on it? Hey, we can't stop something that's been going on this long. We got to keep the, tradition going. All right, all those in favor? 7. Any opposed? 0. So that passes. I think y'all will like item 16. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hines,
I made the motion that we adjourn.
is there a second? Mr. Hogan seconds. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of adjourning? 7 and 0. Thank you, everybody,